The Unfiltered by Jade.
Jade. Welcome to The Unfiltered by Jade, where we educate, empower, and entertain. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, download, donate, and make everybody know about this.
Beats by RB Records.
Shopping assistance, your style, your budget. Our services include online and local shopping for individuals and businesses, personal shopping, purchasing of company and office supplies, importing and exporting small packages across Jamaica and worldwide, and helping you find unique gifts and items for all events and occasions. Contact us at 876-919-5195 or shoppingassistance2015@gmail.com. Shopping Assistance, your style, your budget.
Welcome to The Unfiltered by Jade. Today we have with us here Remington Parris, and he is a legacy planning, retirement planning, and income protection specialist. Today he's going to speak with us about the importance of retirement planning, and he's already fired up. Um, he's already fired up and ready to go. So, before we even jump into it, hi Remington, how are you?
Jade, I'm blessed and highly favored just like you.
Nice. Great answer. Oh my
My
God.
favorite question.
All right, so we could jump in it. What is retirement and what age is this considered?
All right, so retirement is, so I'm gonna tell you this first of all. I'm gonna tell you what retirement is not.
Okay.
We don't just get to magically retire at age 65 anymore. That's just not what it is. Retirement is a big lump sum of money, and having a big lump sum of money saved up so that we never ever have to go to work ever again. Right? But we've got to know pretty much what that lump sum is that we need to have saved up by that time we want to retire. Right? So it depends on our goals so that we can be able to live off the interest for the rest of our lives.
Okay. So there's no specific age anymore.
So it depends on a person's goals, what they can possibly do, right? Typically if a person decides, hey, you know what, I want to be retired right around 60. Okay, how old are you right now? How much can you actually contribute to get to that point? Are you going to be able to do what you need to do to be retired on time, or do you have to delay your retirement goals? We see a lot of people that, they want to be retired at age 60 or 65, but then we see a lot of people still working at age 70.
Oh yes.
In their 80s. Man, I was checking out of Walmart one time, and there was a lady there that was sitting on her walker checking me out with my groceries, and I said hi to her. She seemed friendly. I was friendly with her, and she just said, young man, how old do you think I am? I was like, about 70. She said, no, I'm 83. I was like, wow,
God.
83. Wow. Why are you working? I needed to do something part-time. I can't live off of what I'm getting. Social Security is not enough. I need more income.
Oh boy. Would this though mean that in our early 20s leading up, does this mean that we have to put more into savings?
Absolutely. So I have a 4-year-old son.
Okay.
He's 4. But I'm gonna tell you this. One of the things that when he gets old enough for us to have the conversation, God's willing, I want him to know that as soon as he is earning income, he needs to start saving for emergencies. He needs to start saving for retirement, right? As much as he can possibly put away at the time. Now, rule of thumb usually is, in your 20s, you want to be putting away between 10 to 15% of your income, right? You want to make sure that by the time you're 30, you've got your annual income saved up. I even tell people, hey, listen, try to shoot for 2 times your annual income by the time you're 30. By the time you're 35, have 3 times that. By the time you're 40, 4 times that. By the time you're 45, try to make sure that, you've got another, you have your annual income saved up, and so on and so forth every 5 years, right? That if you can do more, definitely do more, What we find is that the big challenge and the generational curse is where a lot of people, they'll look forward to getting into the workforce because they have more spending goals than saving goals.
Listen, man, yeah.
And then they end up in just this cycle of spending all this money, racking up all this debt, for like the first 5 to 10 years in the workforce, and then afterwards they're thinking about getting assets. They've been spending so much on the depreciating ones. Now they're wanting to get some more appreciating assets because they're starting to get tired of being broke, right? So, and then the next few years it's like, okay, I got to do something, but now it's a challenge. It becomes a workout now because now you've got to trim all this fat. All this fat of financial debt. So, getting started on making more saving goals in the beginning is a huge deal. But at the same time, if you want a big shady oak tree in your front yard, they said it was 2 times to plant the seed. The first time was 100 years ago. Second best time is right now. Got to get to planting it as soon as possible so you can live in as much as the shade as possible in this time.
Nice. That's nice. How much money do I need for retirement, Remington?
What are your goals? At what age do you want to retire? Based off what you're living off right now, is that to you, do you feel like, you want to live off that same amount of money or do you want to have more? Think about inflation, so that's the thing. It depends on the person. To determine what they need to have saved for retirement. I'm gonna tell you what's not gonna work, because I've sat with some people that have said, because I usually ask the question, how much do you want to have saved by that time to stay retired, never have to go back to work, and it's okay to give me that number now, and as time goes by, we look at things, we work on adjusting, but at least you want to have a number to start with, but not just any number. I've had people tell me 100,000.
That can't do anything.
Right. So my next question would be, how long is that going to last? How long do you actually see that lasting? When you think about how much you're actually living off of today, right now, per year, go ahead and divide that from that 100,000, and you tell me, if it's 24,000 a year. Is that enough for you? Is that good enough for you? To me, you're gonna have to have at least $1 million.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to have at least $1 million.
And that's if it is that you're not planning to be traveling all over the place and spending.
Yeah. If you got those plans, well, hey, listen, we got to do something now. We got to depending on where you're at right now, depending on your age, maybe you need to get a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah.
With the saving. But then there's also knowing where to put your money so that it can give you some assistance with having enough saved for retirement.
Interesting. What retirement decisions do I need to think about before even retiring?
You need the retirement decisions that people need to think about where it concerns retirement. They need to think about one, first of all, going back to having the savings goals. What are your goals? What are your dreams? Where do you want to see yourself in retirement? What are the things that you want to be able to do, right? And think about what for right now, what do you feel like would be enough or too little? We'll have a conversation about that. But then there's also just where you're putting that money. Where you're putting that money is extremely important. Knowing where your money is right now is extremely important as well too. What do you have going on right now in terms of debts? What do we need to work on breaking down? Are you making enough money to get to your retirement goals? Maybe we need to find a way to increase your income, right? So these are things that
pay off all the debts first.
You gotta pay them down.
You don't want to just jump into retirement and have all these debts, because you're gonna have to pay off those debts.
You're gonna have to pay them off, or your family's gonna have to deal with them.
True.
When you pass, So yeah. There's you definitely gotta think about that. But most importantly, just thinking about starting as soon as possible. As soon as you get in the workforce, you've got to start saving for retirement.
I hope everybody's listening to that and hearing that. That's important. How do I go about spending from my retirement savings? Because most people want to retire and travel the world. They just don't want to be at home planting flowers. They want to do things, go out, do things that they've always wanted to do, and tick things off their bucket list. So how do they go about spending from their retirement savings without crashing into it and then not depleting it, not having anything left of it?
So when you get into retirement, you still gotta have a budget. Yeah. You still gotta have one. You still gotta have a budget when you get into retirement, right? So the rule of thumb usually is from that lump sum, you should only be using 3 to 4%, annually. You should only be using 3%, staying within that means if you want it to last for a good 30, 35 years. So you still gotta be on a budget, So we're concerned spending on your retirement savings. I mean, one of the things to keep in mind. So I know everybody is not thinking. There's a lot of people. A lot of people are thinking, you know what? There should also be Social Security.
Okay.
You don't know that. Actually, Social Security is there's actually preparation for Social Security to run out in 2034. As a matter of fact, Social Security was never even supposed to last this long. Social Security was never even really meant for what it's being actually used for this right now for this long. Social Security came out as a form of insurance against living too long.
Oh. That's
Yeah, because life expectancy has changed over time.
Yes.
Used to be right now, people are living a lot longer than they used to live. So that's changed. And another thing about Social Security that's important to keep in mind is that there's not as much in between 2020 and 2030. There's a huge transfer of wealth going on. So what that means is the amount of people that were paying into Social Security for a person to receive from Social Security has dramatically decreased. Dramatically decreased, because between 1946 and 1964, over 78 million people were born, the baby boomer generation, right? And when they got older, they got into the workforce, there was a lot of those individuals paying into Social Security. But now between 2020 and 2030, all of those people are retiring all at the same time. So there's a lot less people that are actually paying into the amount of people that are waiting to receive, and not everybody can't look forward to having Social Security be available later on in their life for retirement, and the recent increase in Social Security doesn't help.
I never looked at that point before. That's an interesting point. Hmm. Okay. Um, how is investing something that I should look into?
Everybody should look into investing. So there's a guy by the name of Warren Buffett. He's a pretty popular guy, billionaire, right? Made his billions through making smart investment decisions. Something that he said that is really profound is if we don't find a way to make sure our money is working for us while we sleep, we will work every day for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
So we got to find a way to make sure that our money is not just sitting in the bank, right? Because when you think about your money sitting in a savings account, you're earning interest in there, but it's not very much.
Right.
You know, most savings accounts they only give you 0.01%. And it's something to help you to really calculate a formula to help you to calculate what you can have more expectations for in terms of the growth of your money over time. Your compound interest is something called the rule of 72. So basically the way that works is you take an interest rate you're given, you divide it into the number 72. That answer is going to tell you how many years it's going to take your money to double for you over time under that interest rate. So for instance, with the bank, with that 0.01%, let's say I gave you $10,000. Let's say you're 29 years old. You drop it in that day, right? 7,200 years later is when it's going to double and become $20,000, right? Right. So, I mean, there's other accounts you can get at a bank. You can get your money market, your CD, things like that. But they grow very fixed.
Right.
It's minimal to no growth. It's not a whole lot. I mean, yeah, you have safety. A lot of people have pivoted into plans like that because of the market loss that's been taking place this year. They've moved their money over into places like that, and but there's no growth. So because when you think about you having the protection with no growth, and you're keeping in mind inflation, that's still loss.
Yep. Oh yeah.
That is still loss, and people are afraid of loss, so they got to consider that too. People are afraid of loss. It's just why a lot of people don't particularly decide to invest in the market.
Right.
Right? They want to avoid the losses. They want to make sure that they're not losing anything. A lot of people say, hey, I can't afford to lose money. Right? That's because people think that there's only two options, which is either you put your money in the bank or you put your money directly in the stock market, those aren't the only two options.
Okay.
There are other options to be able to grow your money and earn interest without it being directly in the market. So, but yeah, absolutely. Everybody should be investing. Everybody should be investing. Warren Buffett, he said this too. He said, rule number 1, never lose money. Rule number 2, always remember rule number 1. So there's ways to invest without losing money, right?
Yeah.
So that you can be able to follow that rule, But yeah, everybody should be investing. My 4-year-old son, he's got something in place that's growing his money for him.
Right.
His tax-free retirement is set up for him. He just doesn't know it yet, right?
Right. Well, it's important to start them from their very young.
Mm-hmm.
It's important.
Oh yeah.
How does retirement change my life, though?
Well, when you think about being able to afford to retire, because you have to be able to afford it. When you have enough money to be able to retire, now you have a choice. Listen, Jay, look, we know how things are with the Caribbean and West Indian background, right? Where, listen, they are hard workers.
Yes, they are.
They are hard workers. And I know this is something you'd say, which is, we got an entrepreneurial spirit,
Yes.
and a lot of times, we'll hear, when we're asking somebody, when do you plan on retiring? You'll hear, I'm probably never going to retire. I'll probably work, till the day I die. And they'll They don't mean it in a bad way. They just mean that they just love to work. But it's not all up to us. We don't know what our body is going to feel like later on in life, and if we'll need to stop. Well, guess what? We should have a retirement plan set up so that we can have the option. Because if we don't have the option,
Right.
then what?
It's all really all boils down to, starting from we're very young, and having that in mind instead of, as you said earlier, working to buy things, working to spend. 'Cause most people, that's what we really do, though. You hear young people all the time talking about, I can't wait to start working so I can spend. You don't hear anybody saying, I can't wait to start working to start saving for my retirement fund. Nobody says that, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. I
that's
wanna, I want us to be able to normalize that, though.
yeah,
Um, yeah. The goal is really to make sure that a lot of the common concepts that we talk, a lot of common concepts that are usually uncommon to people that are in middle America, that are considered average or below average. We want to be able to normalize these concepts in their households to the points whereby they're talking about it in everyday life. Like, we would be able to tell a joke in everyday life, and they'd be able to, the kids will be able to feed off of that. And that way the kids will be able to be more prepared to be out into the world today. Because, I mean, once again, it's not just about just going to a job and getting the money. And like you said, to think about the things you can spend that money on, right? That should be heavily considered as well, too. Because once again, you want to make sure that if you're spending your money, it's on appreciating assets versus depreciating assets, right? It'll do
right.
you a whole lot more good in that aspect. But just making sure that they are having more savings goals than spending goals.
Yes, that's important. Important. Remington, where can we find you?
All right, so you can find me,
Mhm.
right? You can find me on Instagram. My Instagram name is Remington Legacy. That is REM as in Mary, IN as in Nancy, G as in Greg, T as in Tony, ON as in Nancy, and the word legacy, right? You can find me there, and you could also find me on Facebook, Remington Parris. Same spelling to my first name, last name Paris, as in Paris, France, but with two R's instead of one, so PARRIS. And I'm working on setting up my TikTok right now too, so don't worry, I'll get that established in probably in this week right here.
Okay, okay. Awesome, awesome.
Yep. But
Thank you
yeah,
so much. Thank you so much. You have shed a lot
mhm,
of light on the retirement process, and there's a lot of things that we didn't even know, especially really about the social security, etc., that you have brought to light. So I think people
no problem.
that are listening to this should really. This is time now for introspection to kind of figure out the way forward. What do we do now going forward? And because if we don't have certain, how should I say this? If we don't have certain things in place for ourselves, how are we really going to manage? We don't want to be 80 something and being in Walmart cashing out things when we should be at home resting or, enjoying our time now because we have worked so long. We don't want that situation, and we don't want also to be heavily in debt. And then you want to retire, you can't. You're not able to do anything. You're living from hand to mouth. It's just terrible. You don't want that situation at
Mm-hmm.
all. So it's best
Exactly.
to start planning for your future from as early as you start working. That's imperative. That's important because the things that we buy when we are younger, it can't help us during retirement. That's the honest truth about it.
Hmm. Dude, I just want to say this. Sometimes folks will think, hey, what's going to be the cost to actually have these conversations? We do a lot of free workshops. We provide a lot of free resources. There are free resources out there.
Hmm.
And I will tell you this, being in the financial services industry, when you're getting connected with somebody in the financial services industry, think about it the same way that you would have a doctor or multiple doctors. There is not just any one person that can be able to handle every aspect of your financial life. Just like there's not any one doctor that can be able to handle every aspect of your health.
True.
So just you got to make sure that you've got somebody in the accounting and taxes and in investing in life insurance area, estate planning, real estate. So There are free resources. If you guys, you look for me on social media, you will be able to find me and we'll get you connected. And, yeah, let's go ahead and build generational wealth and break generational curses.
That's it. Boom. Thank you so much again, Remington. Really appreciate it. And thank you to our listeners on the Unfiltered by Jade. And we'll definitely be back next week, Tuesday. Thank you.